True or false, Kira? 84% of all leaders and executives believe that mindfulness and soft skills are really good for decision making, but most of them dismiss it as a little bit woo-woo and too soft.
Although it pains me to say it, I do believe that's true.
It's 100%.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Burnout Cycle. My name is Kira.
And I'm Oscar.
And together we are
𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐧.
Beta. We smashed it. Not quite. We are bringing this podcast to you because we really believe in putting the B, as in BE, back into business and the well into wealth so that you can enjoy the success that you've created rather than being burnt out, stressed and overwhelmed and not able to enjoy it.
Indeed. And full transparency, I have zero rhythm in my body, and the ability to time Vita, it's going to be a struggle, but hopefully as the episodes progress, I'll get there.
We're learning, you're learning, we're on this journey together.
We're in the same boat, that's all I'm trying to say. And if I can do it...
I'm not in a non-rhythm boat, I'm sorry, I have to say that. My boat is extremely rhythmic. Yes. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Oscar?
Today we're talking about soft skills and how you can go from soft to strategic and get over this objection that it's too woo-woo, it's new agey, it's vague, and all of these things that you might have believed about practices like breathwork, mindfulness, and yoga.
Which I know I have thought about different practices in the past, so I can totally understand. First of all, let's just define what soft skills are. So soft skills are interpersonal and character traits that allow somebody or people to interact harmoniously, clearly and compassionately together. Unlike hard skills, they don't require or rely on measurable metrics, such as finances or amount of people, but they underpin all of the interpersonal relationships within an organization. And we believe that that's very important because often the problems in organizations come down at the root to interpersonal relationships because organizations are made up of people. And people have conflict. And if there aren't adequate soft skills in place, navigating those conflicts can have devastating effects on the overall success and growth of the organization. So I know on the surface it seems like, they're woo-woo, they're a waste of bloody time. But actually they underpin everything that's happening within the organization.
And I'd love to say that science has actually caught up with maybe what people do believe about yoga or breathwork, that this was this thing some random Tibetan monks did up on a mountain to keep warm. Now we actually know that with proper breathing, you can lower your cortisol with 20%. You'll bring oxygen to your brain, so you'll become much sharper and more efficient in making high important decision in pressurized situations because you can self-soothe and self-regulate your stress levels. So you can turn stress not to an enemy but actually to a friend, and you will conquer stress with the help of your breathing. So it's not something that I think it's important to demystify. There is scientific background or backing on all the claims that we make. So with breathing, as I said, you'll be able to lower your cortisol with 20%. That's just a physiological science-backed stats. And there is when you have then lowered your cortisol, you'll be in a more receptive space, and maybe I might even go so far as say you'll be closer to a spiritual state because you'll be in more harmony. But that's when it comes to the woo-woo part.
Well, it depends where you sit on it, doesn't it? But practically speaking, I think it's quite simple to assess. Are you able to make better, more impactful decisions when you are stressed and scattered or when you are calm and centered? Because that's all it boils down to. And as you become a higher caliber leader, the decisions that you're responsible for become much more higher stakes. And so in our opinion, if I can speak for you, the ability to remain calm and steady in that situation is of higher and higher importance.
You'll literally become a rock in a stormy sea. And that's not going to be good for your project, for your company, for your employees, but that will also translate then into family and friends. You'll be a better mother, a better father, a better friend, a better brother, because you will be steady when the turmoil of emotion and life is happening around us. And as everybody know, nobody walks through life without getting scarred or in situations that necessitates being centered and being stable, or at least you will go through those situations a lot better if you have the ability to center your mind and your body and ride the waves of emotions like a surfer.
Nice image.
Instead of being thrown around in the water, like eaten by sharks, being this victim that life pushes around, you can actually change that mindset and understand that you are actually the expression of nature.
I think what that brings up for me, Oscar, is something that I know we're both very passionate about, and it's a core of the promise that we offer at 𝐉𝐸𝐺, which is this bridge between the personal and the professional life. Mm-hmm. And I think what you were just saying there about, this not only positively impacting your team, your organization, but actually your ability to show up as a better husband or mother or friend, etc. And I think this is the key importance with soft skills. And we really want to speak to leaders that aren't just looking to, be a better leader in the boardroom and then go home and, be a totally different person. In my opinion, the personal and the professional life are not two different things. They're the same thing. It's two sides of the same coin. It's one person. So if you can develop your communication skills, if you can develop your emotional intelligence in one of those situations, then you can automatically apply it in the other. So I just think that soft skills piece is a really important piece in bridging the gap between the personal and the professional life and this so-called work-life balance. And I think, soft skills can really offer the gap. They can bridge the gap.
100%. What would you say, or what did you say in your previous life as an objection to, like, you should try breath work? It can really be good to, soothe your nervous system, for example.
For me, it wasn't breath work. I remember having the biggest objection to affirmations. Mm-hmm. And I remember being at the yoga school with one of our students, and she was like, have you tried affirmation? And I was a bit like, oh, that's so woo-woo. Like, I am strong. I am the... but when she explained, no, like she didn't say it in these words, but this is basically what she said. It's a systematic reprogramming of limiting beliefs or of your subconscious mind. And when she put it in that format of systematic and reprogramming, something clicked and I resonated with it more. So I think it's worth mentioning that there's obviously a spectrum within the yogic, mindfulness, spiritual industry, as there is in everything. And there are, of course, the very woo practitioners, and more power to them. It's not personally my cup of tea. And so I think it's just worth recognising that there is a gradient there, and I know that we very much value practicality and application. So we offer practical tools, not only to just be like, this is so esoteric, but like, so you can actually use it in your daily life. Otherwise, what's the point?
What is the point? And I think that's where the rift comes of supposed beliefs about this thing, that it should be, or that it is really like this airy-fairy,
intangible or abstract,
very vague thing that, first of all, I don't have time for that. Second of all, it doesn't do anything, or maybe it didn't work for me. Well, first of all, when it comes to breathworks, there are probably more breathworks than there are dishes to eat in the world, and some will suit you, some won't suit you. Some will make you energized, some will make you balanced, some will make you sleepy. You might not have had the right teacher to teach you what suited you at the time, or you didn't just stick at it for long enough. Maybe you hadn't really figured out your diaphragm. I see most people, even seasoned yoga teachers, still are in the habit of being an opposite breather. So as you take a deep inhalation, chest goes out, belly goes in. A deep breath should be belly goes out, then chest gets puffed up a little bit. But when belly goes in and you think you're doing a big breath, you're not using the diaphragm. Mm-hmm. Cool. That was a little sidetrack. Let me hit you with some of the stats of soft skills. You hold this down.
Gotta love some stats. Gotta love that stats.
Okay, let me find here what we have. Okay. Practicing just 5 minutes of breath work daily can cut out stress-related absenteeism.
Absenteeism.
Thank you very much. A very mouthful word with 25%. Mindful leaders are 28% more likely to avoid reactive decisions under pressure. So, as we spoke about earlier, you are more able to observe what happens and then make a decision. You're not just reacting to the world.
Yeah. And to put that in real terms, just think about in your position, making a high stakes decision, what that reactivity could actually cost you and your organization. Not only financial, but time, resources. Really think about that pinnacle moment where you make a reactive decision and the implications of that. Should have had this in the middle.
Some of the most data-driven CEOs, like Mark Benioff of Salesforce, credit mindfulness as a cornerstone to their success. So even people, as we spoke about in the beginning, 84% of leaders understand the value of these soft skills, but often dismiss them with some preconceived beliefs of what they are.
You know what's coming up for me? This, I don't know what you'd call it, but statement. The fastest way to get there is slowly. I'm thinking of this image. Have you ever been, in a rush to get somewhere and you're rounding everything up, packing your bag, making sure everyone's ready. And when you do it in a rush and flurry, you end up getting in the car. Let's say you're going on holiday, you're going to the airport, and because you've been rushing and flurrying,
you forgot the passport.
You forgot the passport, and now you have to come back anyway, and you've wasted so much time because you aren't centered. So it seems like you're getting more ahead, but actually in the long run, it's going to cost you more time and much more frustration than if you were able to just execute calmly first time round.
Yeah.
Can I talk a little bit about communication? Because we've spoken about breathwork, which is a fantastic soft skill, or as breathwork as a tool to regulate the nervous system, which would be the soft skill. And I think something that can't overbe looked is the power of what I would like to call conscious communication, which is so important for leaders that are managing teams and, partnerships and everything else that requires communication in a company. Let alone, as we mentioned, the personal quote unquote life, being able to communicate properly with all of the people around you. Again, consider the implications of not being able to communicate clearly, the time wasted, the cost of having to train and retrain or sack people and rehire people because you weren't able to clearly communicate what it is that you wanted them to do. Imagine having to deal with hundreds of emails constantly because you haven't been able to communicate somebody's role to them properly and instill that confidence for them to be able to be autonomous. It has so many implications, but when we're so busy focused on the symptoms in a company, we forget to look at the root causes. And I think these, as I said, those interpersonal relationships and the way that the people in the organisation are communicating is often at the crux of a lot of problems within organisations. So if you solve that, it has a ripple effect throughout the entire company and indeed in your entire life. So yeah, it's I know it can be easy to be like, oh, it's not important, but actually if you trace back a lot of the problems you're facing in your company, I guarantee you soft skills will be included at the heart of most of them.
So to summarize all of this, if you are one of the 84% of leaders, or if you are any leader out there that's realizing the importance of soft skills, if it's from breathwork to communication or just taking mindful pauses, then reach out to the Vita Vera. We're happy to help you. We're happy to support you. We have a wealth of knowledge from communication to breathwork and all the other mindfulness stuff that you can possibly imagine. We'll be able to put it in a sweet packet for you and support you so you can become the best leader, the best company, the best partner, the best parent, basically the best version of yourself. We'll be able to support you with if you start turning your gaze inward. I'm pretty sure 𝐇𝐢𝐠 said, a person who looks outside dreams, the one who looks inside awakens. And we're happy to help you with that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Breaking the Burnout Cycle. As always, we'd love to know what resonated with you. Is there any particular part of this conversation that struck a chord? Let us know below. We always really value reading those comments and knowing what's resonating so we can keep showing up and adding value to your day and to your life. Don't forget the soft skills.